Welcome to Tater Time with Big Al and the Tater. Your host, Mr. Caleb Strickland.
Welcome to week 9 of Tater Time, all of you Tater Tots. We are so glad to have you join us. We have our Tater prognosticator, Mr. Kyle Reed, and then obviously the Tater himself has joined us this week. Thank you. All right, so right out of the gate, we had a epic report from The Reporter live from Knoxville last week. We have The Reporter on the line right now for your viewing pleasure. All right, so
Hello?
The Reporter, first question. The fervor in Knoxville before the game versus after. What say you, sir?
The Tennessee fans were very excited for the game, apparently beating Auburn at home, gave them some kind of unrealistic expectation how they were going to sweep the state of Alabama.
So they were drinking the cone orange Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Oh, it was.
They were deep in the whiskey, is what you're saying.
But I tell you what, after the game, if the fans weren't mad, they were actually a little thankful for taking it easy on them.
So how fast did the stadium empty? Because on the TV it appeared that halftime the bowl went from orange to gray.
I'll be honest, it was very surprising how long they stuck around through the third quarter, but at 11 minutes left in the game, there was either a bunch of red or empty seats. There was not a speck of orange to be found.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well-
They cut out quick.
And I got a question for you. So we know that the Tennessee fans are very familiar with Rammer Jammer at this point, but were they actually openly humming it this time?
I did not hear anyone humming, but there was a woman, one row in front, a few seats down, that she actually was nodding her head along with Rammer Jammer. It was surprising, to say the least.
Sketchy.
So did it bring a tear to your eye to see that kind of unity in the South?
I don't know if it brought a tear, but it definitely brought a laugh.
And how many birds did you see or receive yourself?
Well, there were quite a few. There was plenty of upset Tennessee fans go around, which I
Yeah.
don't understand what they expected, but
Well-
they definitely got what was coming.
They're classy folks.
Speaking of Tennessee fans being upset, we know Saban had to dodge some ice coming out of the stands. Did you have to dodge any ice coming out of the stadium?
No, there wasn't any ice. I saw that with Saban, and it was being talked about during the game in the stands, but the only thing that was flying at me were those birds coming straight at my face, and I tell you what, they were more than enough to go around.
Class it up,
They were
Knoxville.
very upset.
We are so glad to have the reporter with us. He is our version of Tom Rinaldi, as you know. So I hope you all cried during this interview. Thank you, the reporter. All right, let's go to the games of the week, and we'll start off with a cocktail party.
The world's largest outdoor cocktail party, as it is technically formally known, but we don't adhere to PC
Are we
culture.
talking
here.
shrimp in the cocktail sauce cocktail party?
I think we're talking about
I
a
think
little
we're
boozing.
talking about the booze.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So no shrimp will be had.
No, and just fun fact, this game is played in Jacksonville every year, and a sports editor by the name of Bill Casteltz actually came up with the name after seeing a drunk Florida fan stumbling and
Johnny
offering
Casteltz?
an alcoholic beverage to a cop. Yeah, old Steltzen. Yeah. So and then after that, they basically had some riots break out, and one weekend I think they said there was like 70 people arrested on alcohol-related charges. So they've asked people to quit calling it this.
So this bad boy gets lit.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Who would know that just calling it that would just, it's like it gives people a free pass, I guess.
Might as well.
But on to the actual game itself. Obviously, Georgia coming off a loss to LSU. I think the linchpin player in this game, and linchpin overall, is going to be Jacob Fromm. quarterback for Georgia. This guy's actually been the third worst quarterback on third down out of the Power 5 conferences. He's just really struggling when push comes to shove.
That is not what you want to be known for.
No. And I tend to look at him as I call him Mr. Just Enough. He does just enough. He struggles against good defenses. We all know that Florida's got a pretty good defense on the other side of the ball. And a lot of people don't forget about this because of the blowout win that that Georgia had last year, but Florida's actually won 3 of the last 4.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Florida's always had pretty good success against Georgia. Again, Georgia's going to have to get Elijah Holyfield some more carries if they want to win this game. I'm going with Florida in the upset, though. I just think things are kind of trending in their favor with the way that they're playing. Felipe Franks has been kind of molded into a Mullen quarterback, and he's looking pretty decent.
All right, Tater.
Well, I don't know if I agree with this because I think Kyle.
Hold on, you don't agree with Kyle, or you don't agree with what you're about to say?
No, I don't agree with Kyle. I think maybe he's gotten a couple cocktails in him already.
Whoa!
Shots.
So, honestly, I think Georgia is really salty right now. Salty dogs. So, I think the Dogs get back to running the football, and they pound Florida in this game. I think it will be very competitive, but I do think Georgia's the better team, and they're going to pull out a win.
All right, we'll move over to the Taters' other family, the old Penn State Nittany Lions. Try to keep your bias under control, please. Go ahead. What do you think about this game? Penn State versus Iowa.
You don't got to worry about bias here. We'll start with the bad first.
Ooh.
So the bad news for Penn State is they're facing another.
The bad news is they're terrible.
Bad news is they're facing another defense that's really good at stopping the run. Iowa's coming in with the number 3 rush defense and the number 3 overall defense coming into this game, which is not very good news for Penn State, who has been struggling. Even last week with Indiana, they struggled. We'll go back to the good news, though. They've won the last 4 games in this meeting, including last year's last-second heroics from McSorley as time expired to Juwan Johnson, who I think has got to be a factor in this game if they have any chance of winning. He's been kind of invisible this year. I mean, he really hasn't showed up for, like you said, a couple big catches, but that's about it. I think KJ Hamler's another guy that has to be involved the whole game, not just a half. He's got to be involved the whole game. And McSorley's got some making up to do for his last couple weeks. Just been unimpressive and kind of struggled. That all being said, I'm actually going to go with Iowa in this game.
Ooh.
Jeez.
Did not see that coming from the Taters.
This is like that every, 3rd or 4th year for Kirk Ferentz and Iowa to be decent. You know, how it's like they're kind of like on that 4-year rotation. Every time his contract comes up, he pulls strings together a pretty good season. But no, joking aside, I think Penn State's just got too many weapons here. Like AJ mentioned, Hamler and Juwan Johnson, McSorley, Miles Sanders. I think, you heard Franklin mention this week that they've got to get more guys involved and not just put it all on McSorley. So I think you're going to see them try to do that and spread the ball around. I don't think Iowa's going to be able to keep up with them. Those corn-fed boys are just not going to be able to keep up. So I'm going Penn State in this one.
But
All right.
let's give Iowa some credit, though. Their tight ends, they like to use their tight ends a lot. And this is an area of concern because Penn State's defense is kind of weak.
And they do have an experienced quarterback. He's an experienced guy. I think it'll be a close game, but I like Penn State.
Okay. So let's go on to the old Stanford Fighting Trees versus the Washington State Huskies.
Well, I got another fun fact for you.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, the Stanford tree, is actually an El Palo Alto tree. So there you go.
So that's like a Steve Jobs tree.
Sure,
Palo Alto
if you
tree,
want to call it that. Yeah. And then also, per the internet, it's also commonly found as the worst mascot.
Did you cite the internet as a whole?
And wasn't it like supposed to be the most controversial also?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a lot of changes over the years, and I don't know how you come up with a tree. You do your own research. You go down that rabbit hole. There's a lot of stories. He got attacked one time. The actual mascot himself on the field.
The tree doesn't instill fear in either of you, though.
No, especially not with those goofy eyeballs.
Yeah, those when he does the googly eyes, yeah.
And I
sure.
guarantee you don't put any fear in the Beavers. You know, Beavers like to cut trees down.
Whoa.
Well, this game is really intriguing to me, I will say, because it's interesting to me that Stanford's favored. I know they are at home, but they're a 3-point favorite to a Washington State team who's been actually really good on defense and really good on offense versus Stanford, who cannot stop the passing, who cannot stop. They're number 105 in the nation in defending the pass. What does Washington State do best? Pass the ball. Their quarterback is a graduate transfer, Gardner Minshew, and he's actually averaging the most yards per game passing this year. So I just, when you look at everything and the way that the numbers kind of come out, I don't see why Stanford's favored in this game, but obviously Vegas does their homework. Yeah. They know a little bit more than we do.
Hold up. No, they don't.
Well, generally.
Yeah.
I'll say generally. Okay. And then does everybody remember Bryce Love? Like, what the heck happened to him? I mean, I know he's been injured a little bit, but he's only missed 2 games. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. I don't know what's going on there. In last year's matchup, Washington State shut him down. They also shut down KJ Costello, the quarterback. So just history and, like I said, all the numbers just tell me that Washington State's going to win this game. So I think they're going to win convincingly.
Tater?
Well, sometimes you got to throw history and the stats out the window. I actually feel like you calling Bryce Love out, I think he's going to wake up this week, and I think he's going to be a difference in this game. I think Stanford beats Washington State.
Oh. All right, let's go back to the SEC, where I feel like there's a lot of disrespect happening, but you guys don't seem to agree.
I definitely
The Wildcats versus Mizzou. The Wildcats are number 12. They are ranked. They have 1 loss. Mizzou has 3 losses in the SEC. This is about to be a burnt tater. This is about to be a burnt tater.
Tater incinerator.
It's not going to be a burnt one, but I'm going to tell you why I don't have respect for Kentucky and why Vegas doesn't have respect for Kentucky. When you only throw the ball for 18 yards in a football game.
That is true.
I mean, come on, guys. I understand Snell is really good, but 18 yards passing is ridiculous.
But you do what works.
Okay, and not to mention these losses we're talking about for Missouri, 2 of those came against Georgia and Alabama. Big difference.
Georgia has lost.
Okay.
Okay.
Georgia is a very good team, and they're better than Kentucky.
I'm not saying they're not.
And Alabama, we know who Alabama is.
I'm not saying they're not a good team. I'm just
Okay,
saying.
well, those are big. Those losses have reasons for them.
I feel like the only claim to fame right now for the Tigers, because what's his name is gone to the if he's even still in the Canadian NFL. What's his name? Anyway, Sam? Not his name?
You're talking about Michael Sam?
Michael Sam.
Yeah. So they're terrible. This is your classic basketball matchup, first and foremost.
I think
Second
Drew Lock
ball,
can throw the ball better than Kentucky, and that's going to be the reason Missouri wins this game and beats Kentucky. So they barely beat Purdue. Okay, well they beat Purdue, who just beat Ohio State.
But Purdue is 5-3 now. Come on.
Okay, and I just feel like Missouri's a better team than Kentucky, and they're going to beat them. And I think this whole race for the East is going to be over Saturday night for Kentucky.
We'll see who wins the East.
Not Kentucky.
Let's get back to these are basketball schools trying to play football. Let's not forget that, guys. So
do you think they know they can't dribble?
Well,
good news is they can't get called for traveling in this game.
That's a dad joke. Can't do anything with it. All right. So when I look at this game, I look at, like the Tater brought it up, the fact that Kentucky cannot pass the ball. Wilson is just very inept in that part of his game. Obviously, they've got a really talented, good running back in Benny Snell. What you're going to see, again, like you saw with Texas A&M, Missouri's going to load the box and just make Kentucky try to figure out a way to beat them as far as busting a big play or hitting them over the top or something like that. I think you're going to see a close game. I don't think Missouri's very good, to be honest with you. I like Drew Lock. I think Benny Snell finds a way to bust a few big runs in this game, and I do have faith that Kentucky's going to beat Missouri.
All right, so Texas A&M versus Mississippi State, 2.5-point favorite in this game. I don't really, again, I don't understand the line here. You know, so what do you think there, Mr. Reed?
Okay, so again, like you said, we're kind of perplexed by what Vegas is looking at here, because I don't get it. Nick Fitzgerald, again, we've talked about it all year. This kid really struggles to pass the ball. So if they get down at any point, I just don't see them being able to come back. Texas A&M's defense is really good. Their run defense has been good. I just don't see in a situation where Mississippi State wins this game, to be honest with you. So I know it's in Starkville and the cowbells will be out and it's going to be loud and crazy and all that, but I like Jimbo and Texas A&M here.
Yeah, I can only imagine the reason Mississippi State is favored is because they're playing at home and because Nick Fitzgerald is more experienced than Mon. I don't think it matters, though. Like Kyle said, I do feel like A&M with Jimbo and Kellen Mond has definitely improved from last year. Not to mention their defense has gotten a little tougher, a little bit better. So I do see A&M going into Starkville and pulling out a win.
Does Jimbo win Coach of the Year? I mean, he's got to be up there, right?
Yeah,
this turnaround this quick.
I was going to say he's doing a lot more than I think. Well, I expected, but I think anybody has expected.
Yeah.
He seems
especially with that defense.
Well, you can tell a difference with the defense, and I think that has a lot to do with Jimbo coming in, and we've heard him multiple times this offseason basically say that this team was soft when he got here, and they weren't going to be soft when he got done with them.
They've always had players. They just needed a good coach.
All right, Purdue versus Michigan State. I feel like both of these have had epic games last week, and they're coming this week to figure out who, in my opinion, who's got the best mental strength. So, Tater?
And let's just start with this. I know I've heard Kirk Herbstreit say something about, well, you know, we all thought Purdue had a chance. You didn't really think they had a chance. I mean, there's been, I mean, all the talk I've heard about Ohio State and how they're the second best team and all this. I don't buy Kirk Herbstreit's comments. Like, I'm just like, dude, like, really?
AJ is, for the new kids, is throwing shade on Kyle Reed to start off with. His Tater prognosticator. And now the Herbs?
I mean, hey, you say stuff, you got to back it up. And when it doesn't go right and you start acting like, oh, yeah, I saw a chance of this happening. You didn't see a chance of this happening. Nobody saw a chance of this happening except for a few people. And, like, I totally didn't see this happening. Nope. And Ohio State's lack of converting, going on drives inside the red zone, coming out empty. I mean, 4th and goal, they get a drop from their best receiver, Hill, who's had some miraculous catches. He had a bad one in this game where he dropped it on 4th down. It could have been a touchdown. And there's nobody on him. But still, that being said, nobody saw this coming, if you're honest. And I definitely didn't see a 29-point loss by the Buckeyes at Purdue. So I'm really surprised by this. And honestly, I'm interested to see what Purdue comes back down, if they come back down from the big win, or if they're able to against Michigan State.
Let's don't put the cart before the horse. They're still the Boilermakers.
Yeah, so I mean, that being said, though, I guess with the momentum going and the way Michigan State lost last week to Michigan, I like the Boilermakers.
Oh.
Well, and I've heard this all week, getting back to Urban Meyer a little bit. Something isn't right over there. I know he had this controversy to start the year and the suspension and all that. I don't know if that's affecting him. The coaches don't seem to be on the same page. He seems just disinterested at times when you see him. Me being a body language doctor, I pick up on these things. He just seems out of it sometimes. So I don't know something's going on there.
So you're a body language doctor?
Not diagnosed, whatever.
Appointed?
Self-appointed, sure.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
But then getting back to this game, this particular game and the way that Purdue played last week. They're coming off of they won 4 in a row. Yeah, they started out 0-3 and they lost 3. Those actually were 3 close games. They are clicking on all cylinders right now. As far as their offense goes, they look really good. And Braun, their coach, is doing a really good job over there. Caleb mentioned the psyche of this game, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens, because the way Michigan State lost to Michigan, they were totally dominated in that game. Their offense could do nothing. I've never seen a more pathetic performance by a quarterback. I don't know.
Well, then
5 of 25 is what
25.
Lewerke was, and he's a senior, right?
Yeah, especially after what he did against Penn State, he had way better numbers than that, and I think that has a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that has a little bit to do with the fact that Penn State's defense is not as good as Michigan. Well, that's obvious, but still, 5 of 25 is pretty bad.
This game is all about how they're going to respond. Is Purdue going to be coming off this high and let one slip? Is Michigan State just going to flop at this point the way that they got beat? I think Michigan State's defense is still going to show up, but here's the thing about their defense. Their pass defense isn't very good. And what does Purdue do? Well, pass the ball. Michigan State's one of the worst in the country against pass defense. So matchup-wise, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Rondale Moore, the receiver for Purdue. This kid's awesome. I've been waiting all year to talk about him. I've been keeping an eye on him. He's like 5'8", 5'9", 175 pounds. They said the kid can bench 600 pounds. He's averaging like 130 yards of offense. He's just electric.
When he gets to 650, you let me know.
Yeah, I will. When he hits your number, I got you.
That's right.
Yeah. But no, he's just a very fun player to watch. And Purdue's just kind of fun to watch in general. Just the way that their offense clicks and runs. So as you can tell, I'm leaning towards Purdue in this matchup. I'm not a Lewerke guy. I don't believe in Michigan State's offense, and I think their defense is highly overrated.
All right. Moving on to the most anticipated part of the show. Time for our upsets. Tater, who do you have your money on this week?
Well, since last week didn't work out and Vandy couldn't pull out the win over Kentucky last week,
Anchor down, baby.
A touchdown short. Good try, but just wasn't good enough.
Rusty anchor.
True. I'm going with a team that's been flirting with some upsets past couple weeks. They let something away against Notre Dame. I like the Pitt Panthers to beat the Duke Blue Devils this week. I think they're a 2.5-point dog.
I like you're reaching deep for that game.
I don't think so. I think Pitt's a pretty tough team. And
I'm saying, yeah.
No, it's not that.
The other fam. I forgot.
Again, they're not in the fam. Like, Pitt is not in my fam. Not the Panthers anyway.
All right, Kyle, who you got for your upset?
All right, well, I already mentioned, we've already gone over this game, but I'm taking Washington State over Stanford. I'm feeling pretty good about it, which means that Stanford's going to blow them out.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop it right here, Tater Tots. Mark my words. Lack of faith from the sides. Kentucky wins.
Hey, I picked Kentucky.
Wins.
Ain't happening.
You did? Okay,
Ain't happening.
Tater, they're winning.
Ain't happening. Watch.
Let us know what you think in the comments.